Hello and welcome to episode 1 of the Henka Boys. I'm James, this is Shaun.
Hello.
And this is a new podcast, which is going to be primarily about sumo, a little bit about wine, and even a little bit about anything else interesting, or anything that we find interesting, basically.
Yes, as he said, it is primarily a sumo podcast, but as the Basho has just finished, we're going to try and cover
March Basho, yeah?
Most of the highlights later on, and when the next Basho's on, we'll be hopefully recording maybe daily updates, shorter episodes where we're going to discuss the day's action as it happens and bring you along with us on that journey.
Excellent. So, more importantly, Shaun, what are you drinking today?
Oh, I'm going first, am I? Yes, I am drinking Sainsbury's finest Penguin Sands Merlot.
Penguin Sands?
Yes, it's an exclusive collection, I'll have you know. It is 13.5% volume.
Wow.
And it's fruity and smooth, apparently.
And what grapes is that made from?
Well, Merlot grapes, I'd imagine, isn't it?
Okay, yeah. Excellent.
As it's a Merlot. It's apparent of the description. An easy drinking wine with bags of fruity plum flavours. It's beautifully smooth and would make a perfect match for spaghetti with meatballs. Okay.
Excellent. And how would you rate that? Is it good?
I would rate it. I don't know. In comparison with comparable wines, I'd give it an 8. That's not in comparison to any wine, just in comparison to the very cheap bracket
price range.
But it's very good for its price range. Exactly the technical talk there.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So
what do you find yourself drinking?
I've opted for something on completely other end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
I have a 44-pound-ish bottle of Amarone from Valpolicella, of course, in Italy, that I picked up from work. It's 2013 vintage.
It's old.
Well, I think most Amarones are kept for about 5 years at least before being released. It's 15.5% by volume, so pretty strong.
What's its description on the bottle?
Well, I don't know how familiar you are with sort of old world wines.
Not very.
They're not particularly descriptive. I'll say that.
Okay.
There are a few words on the back of the bottle. They are all in Italian.
Fair enough. This is how you know you're drinking the good stuff.
The good stuff, that's right.
It doesn't give you any advice. And what would you rate it as out of 10?
It's very nice. It is very nice. It's got lovely... it's very fresh, actually. Surprisingly fresh. A little bit thinner, maybe, than I would have liked, but overall, I give it a 7 out of 10. I'm a little bit disappointed in it, but you can't be too mad. It's still very good. Still an Amarone.
And that's for its price range, yeah?
That's for the price range, yeah. I mean, if I were comparing this against something at £7, this would be a 10 out of 10 wine, no problem. But...
yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. Right. So another little feature of our podcast is going to be the drunk rating at the start of the show, because I don't think we mentioned it, but we are always going to be recording these whilst drinking.
Yes.
So it's important to gauge how inebriated we are on an episode-to-episode basis.
Exactly. Because we will both completely fold in any social context unless we are drunk in some way.
Absolutely, and we're not ashamed to admit it. So James, out of 10.
Well, I'm going to stand up.
Because,
I'll do a little test.
A little test.
I'm feeling okay. I'd say I'm about maybe a 4 out of 10.
4.
Yeah,
Okay, well, I'm going to stand up as well.
Okay. Yep.
That was very easy and not very wobbly, but
How
go
no,
on.
go on. I was going to say, how much of the bottle has depleted?
I've drunk just under half of it, I'd say.
Okay, I'm about the
How much
same
have
way
you
as you. Yeah.
Okay, so but I'm going to give myself a 3 because
Okay.
I feel 4's a bit too far ahead. Maybe by the end of the episode, I'll be a 4.
Right. Well,
Excellent.
we'll find out, won't we?
We will, hopefully.
Yeah. Okay.
Moving on to the main event of our podcast. I imagine this is why most of you are here. Is we're going to be talking about sumo.
That's why I'm here.
And it's why we're both here. Our shared love of the sport of sumo. The 2020 Haru Basho has just finished, and we are going to give you an overview. I'm not sure. We'll find out what's going to happen. I'm sure if you're watching this, you already know the results, so we're not spoiling anything for you. We're just going to discuss the outcome, some people in it. We're going to discuss some of the wrestlers and who we think might drop down to the Juryo division. We didn't watch the Juryo, so we're not going to give you any updates on who we think are going to replace them.
No.
Yeah, that's about it. We're just going to talk about the past tournament. So start us off, James. What have you got to say about the Haru Basho?
Very quiet. Quiet Basho. It's been called the Silent Basho, apparently.
It's a good name.
Which, of course, is because no audience members were allowed to attend this year, or this in this Basho.
Yeah.
And it was a bit strange watching with no audience. I did like the fact that we could hear the various slaps and grunts echoing around the dojo. That pleased me. But it was quite sad when certain events happened, and there should have been a huge uproar from the crowd, maybe some pillows getting thrown into the ring, but nothing was happening.
I will say by about day 4 or 5, I was completely used to it. And next Basho, if there is an audience for the next Basho, I will find that strange.
Or if there is a Basho at all.
If there is at all, we can be hopeful. We can be hopeful.
Yeah. This is a positive podcast. I was overall, I wasn't too sad about the loss of the crowd after a few days.
No.
But I think I'll be happy to see the crowd return. Personally.
Yes.
Right. So, do you have any particular events in mind?
Well, we should mention, if anyone doesn't know or is new to sumo, in fact, we're not closing ourselves off to anyone that isn't into sumo already. We will hopefully get you involved. Hakuho Yokozuna won the tournament, and it was his 44th tournament win. And this was.
So how many wins does the guy in second place have, Shaun? Do you remember?
I don't remember. I think it's around about 30. It's a long way. It's a long way behind.
Yeah, Hakuho is widely considered to be the greatest modern sumo wrestler, I believe.
Greatest ever, possibly. Yeah.
Possibly, yeah.
But the last tournament, he withdrew on day 4 or 5 with injury. So
4, I believe.
It was uncertain whether he was going to be dominant or even able to compete at a high level in this tournament. But he won.
He won.
He did well. He lost. It was 2 matches, wasn't it? 13-2.
He lost 2, yeah.
He lost 2. But overall, a pretty dominant performance, I would say.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he definitely deserved the win, I feel like. The other guy that was in the running was the other Yokozuna, Kakuryu. There were rumors before the Basho started that he was absolutely dominating in training. He's gone 50-0. All this
Who was this? Sorry, Hakuho or
Kakeru.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But when he lost on day 2, then things got a bit of doubt was cast his way, I think. But he managed to hold on. He scrounged up enough wins to get into the final playoff at the end.
Yeah, scrounged is a little unfair, I think. Yeah.
I feel like a lot of his wins were not as dominant as they should have been.
No, I would agree with that.
But
he wasn't anywhere near as scary an opponent as Hakuho.
No, or even, I mean, Aoyama looked pretty dominant in this one.
Yes, until day 13 when his loss streak started, I guess.
Yeah.
I did think he was in the running for at least a playoff spot.
Yeah, but when they put him up against Hakuho on day 14, I think it was, and I think
I think it was 13, but
was
yeah.
It? Well, yeah. I think the golfing skill was pretty apparent there. Aoyama just got thrown out the ring pretty quickly. So for anyone that doesn't watch sumo at home right now, they're probably wondering, firstly, why they're still listening.
Is it true?
And secondly, what the hell we're talking about. So, what do we mean when we're talking about yokozunas, and what are these different ranks? What is a basho? Where do we start if we want to explain it to a complete beginner?
This is episode 1, after all.
This is episode 1 of the Henka Boys. What is a Henka? Well, find out later, possibly.
Yes, possibly. Definitely, you will find out. Please continue listening.
Right, so a basho is a sumo tournament. There's one held every other month. The last one was the one in March, which is called the Haru Basho.
I believe that means spring in Japanese.
Does it?
I think it does, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Okay.
And basically, sumo wrestlers are pitted against each other. They have to fight once every day for 15 days. And the winner at the end is the sumo wrestler with the most wins. Now, they usually get put against people of their own rank or a similar rank to each other. But if they start getting up in wins, then they'll be matched up against higher opponents, as we saw with Aoyama versus Hakuho.
So, James, there's quite a reasonably complicated ranking system as sumo. There's not only divisions, but there's different ranks of wrestler in each division. So we're only focusing on the top division. But James, could you give us a breakdown of the ranks and divisions?
The sumo ranking system is fairly simple when you get used to it. So there are like divisions. So these are similar to the sort of leagues in UK football, if anyone's familiar with that. So you have the Premier League at the top, and then you'd have like the I don't know what they're called, and I don't watch football, but the
Championship,
the Championship League, and then like the League
Division 1,
Division 1,
2,
yes, etc. So and they'd have that, and you can get relegated and promoted, etc. It's sort of the same in sumo. So the top league, is called the Makuchi or Makinochi. I think I've heard it called as well. I'm not sure why it has two names, but and then the one below that is Juryo, and then it goes down and down and down. We only really watch the top division, the Makuchi sort of Premier League of sumo, if you like. But even within that, there are ranks that everyone are ranked at. So most people will be in the Maegashira ranks. And the Maegashira ranks run generally from Maegashira 17 up to Maegashira 1.
I think we should say there's 42.
There are 42 sumo wrestlers in the top division. There always is. That's... probably just for scheduling reasons, I suppose. They want to have 21 fights. And there will be sometimes one, usually two sumo wrestlers occupying each rank. So, for instance, there will be two Maegashira 17s. There's a Maegashira 17 East and a Maegashira 17 West. They're basically the same rank, although East, I think, is generally considered to be a bit of a higher rank than West, but not really by any degree. And if you're really good, if you manage to impress the Sumo Association and you're already at a pretty high Maegashira rank, you may get promoted into the Sanyaku, a set of 3 distinct ranks, all of which are considered higher than any Maegashira rank. So the first is the Komusubi rank, second the Sekewake rank, and then finally we have the Ozeki rank, which is kind of the highest official rank. And then above that you have the Yokozuna, who are the absolute pinnacle sumo wrestlers, the best at the moment. Currently we have 2 Yokozuna and 1 Ozeki. 2 Yokozuna are Hakuho and Kakiryu, who's mentioned previously, and the Ozeki is Taka Keisho, although he is now a Ozeki Kadaban, owing to the fact that he had a losing record in the previous Basho, and is now facing relegation down to the Sekewake rank if he loses again.
Yes, very disappointing performance.
I was very disappointed in Taka Keisho.
He did very well in the first Basho of this year.
He did. Where did it go wrong for Taka Keisho? I mean, it looked like he was almost a completely different fighter. Was he injured? What was going on?
I don't know. It's difficult to tell what's going through the minds of the sumo wrestlers, given there's few interviews. They don't use social media. But
particularly Taka Keisho, who's a very stoic individual.
Is he? I didn't know that, but it looked to me like he just got a bit countered. He's a sort of one-trick pony, I find, with his style.
What do you mean?
Well, he seems to just have this pushing and thrusting technique, and he doesn't seem to try anything else. And I think maybe after the first tournament of the year, everyone had seen him doing that and knew how to counter him. That's my very humble opinion. My
opinion is slightly different. I think he was trying new techniques this Basho. I just don't think they worked particularly well.
Okay.
It seemed like he was doing some very strange things that weren't his usual sumo, and he just seemed to lose every time he tried that.
Okay, I might have to rewatch them and look out for that.
Right, so we talked about the top 3. Should we just keep going down through the ranks and see if we've got anyone interesting that pops up?
You haven't just told everyone what a Yokozuna is.
Yes, so the Yokozuna, to become a Yokozuna is quite an arduous task. I believe you need to win 2 Bashos consecutively, or give a similar performance.
Is it consecutively? I didn't know that.
It is, yeah. 1, 2, yeah, which is pretty hard, and you have to be Ozeki while you're doing it. You can't be promoted up from a Maegashira lower rank. I suppose you could, but the Sumo Association don't usually do that. So yeah, they're considered to be sort of the top of the top, aren't they?
Yeah, we should say at this point there are no exact rules about how you get promoted. There is a council of elders who decide on the rankings after each Basho is finished.
Yeah, it's all quite arcane, really.
Yeah.
All right, so should we move down the ranks a little bit? Anyone interesting?
Well, obviously we have to talk about, at least briefly, about Tokushuryu's performance.
Do we? We could just skip over it.
We have to. He is a tournament winner, James, and he went 4 wins and 11 losses in this tournament, which is well. I was surprised, James. You kind of expected it, but yeah, I was at least expecting him to go positive. Yeah, he has moved up. I believe he was M17.
He was the lowest possible rank in the previous basher at Maegashira 17.
Yes.
He was generally considered to be sort of a really bad top division wrestler. He never really achieved much in his career, I think it's fair to say. But he went on an absolute miracle run. What did he go? 14-1, was it? Or?
I think it was. Yes. We have to remember though that the two Yokozuna, they both withdrew in this contest due to injury.
But 14-1 from Maegashira 17 is a pretty impressive run.
Something that only happens every couple of decades, I believe.
50 years, wasn't it? I think I heard the word 50 years get thrown around. Don't quote me on that. So that was really impressive. But unfortunately, the Sumo Association moved him up to Maegashira 2. And, I mean, I think he was just outclassed at that rank.
Yes, as James mentioned earlier, he would, the higher you are, you play people in ranks closer to you. So if you're Maegashira 17, you will never play Yokozuna or Ozeki, or even Pottori.
Or even the Komusubi, probably.
Yeah, I'm not 100% on it. We're not experts. We should say that.
We should say that we've only really started watching Sumo this year, actually.
Yes. But it's captured our imagination so much, hasn't it?
It really has, yeah. We've been really enjoying it. Well, you used to watch it a few years ago, right?
I've sort of gone through two phases before, because when I was a child, I used to watch it, but I didn't know what was going on because my granddad watched it. And then sort of around about 10 years ago, I went through a phase of watching it for a couple of years as well.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But it's difficult to watch on TV in the UK, and they took it off air, I believe, around about 10 years ago. I think that's why I stopped watching it. Other wrestlers' performances, any standouts?
Mitekayumi.
Yes.
Doing very well this tournament, up until the end, I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, we should mention, actually, Tokishoryu, it wasn't all bad. 4-11, but he did get a Kinboshi, which is also known as a gold star, which is when a Maegashira defeats a Yokozuna, and Tokishoryu defeated Kakuryu.
Yes.
In fairly dominant style, I seem to remember.
I felt it was, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it only felt dominant because he'd lost. He was on like 1-6 or 1-7, I think, at that point.
Yeah. But I mean, winning a tournament or getting a Yusho, as it's called, and a Kinboshi in your career is pretty good. Yeah. I don't think he should feel too bad. I think he'll get demoted now fairly heavily, maybe Maegashira 10, something like that. And I think he'll do okay around that rank.
We'll have to see. I'm not sure he can recover.
Right. You think he's you think he's washed up?
Yeah. Maybe. I was very impressed with Anosho's victory against Hakuho. That was possibly the standout match of the entire basho for me. I literally leapt off my seat in the final moments of watching that.
It was impressive.
Off the top of your head, what would you say would be the best match? Difficult question, I know, but yeah.
Oof. There was a Tochinoshin match. I can't remember who it was against, unfortunately, but he got pushed up to the side of the ring, I mean, two to three times, and managed to turn the guy around, get him out for a Yorikiri.
Is that the one where he picked him up and carried him?
Yes,
for a bit? Yeah. I think I know the one you're talking about.
I'm a huge Tochinoshin fan. It's not going too well for him.
No, it isn't.
Talking about not going too well for them, can we talk about Enho?
We can talk about Enho.
6-9. Disappointed.
Yes, I believe the past 3 or 4 tournaments he's gone positive. So
yeah, this is his career high, I believe.
It is, yes. Megashira 4 is the highest ranking he's been.
But he has a slight advantage in that he'll never have to fight Hakuho being in the same stable as him.
Yes, that is another rule we should probably explain, James.
Ah, yes. Sorry, I thought you were leading into you explaining it.
No. James knows more about sumo than I do, especially the technicalities of it.
So a stable is the name of a sort of training group that they all belong to. And Hakuho and Enho belong to the same stable. And stable mates, as they're called, can not fight each other in any official capacity.
Unless they are drawing on the final day, yeah.
Yes, if there is a draw on the final day, there's usually a playoff to decide who will win. There can be up to, I think there was once a 5-way tie.
Yeah, I bet it's only happened once. It's very rare.
Yeah. So they would be able to fight each other if they were drawing and both in the lead at the end of a basho, but that's an extremely unlikely event to happen, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Enho, I was banking on him doing a lot better than he did, but I think he's got to the point in the Banzuke, which is the name of the official rankings. I think he's got to a point on the Banzuke where he's just being figured out. Everyone knows how to deal with him now. He's a very small guy, so if his strategies get figured out, there's basically no hope. He's not overpowering anyone, is he?
No. And I think if he wants to remain in the top division and have a successful career, he is going to have to put some weight on. And that will possibly mean he will have to change his fighting style too.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he does opt to put weight on. And if he does, how heavily his style will change and if he'll have to go through a bit of a reconstruction.
Yeah, that might be a bad idea, in fact. He may not. If he's been training for years at this lighter weight, he's not going to be able to adapt quickly.
Yeah, well, we don't know.
It's a tricky situation. We don't know.
Abby, probably my least favourite wrestler.
Yeah, I don't like him either, to be honest. I don't like his style.
Very long arms, and he just thrusts them into people's necks over and over again in the sort of vain hope to get them out of the ring. It works occasionally. It doesn't work more often than not.
Well, he is M4.
Well, so, 7 and 8. Do you think he'll go down a rank here to M5 possibly? Or...
I think looking at the stats of the other people in that M1 to M5 bracket, a lot of people had a poor showing. So he will possibly stay where he is, possibly go down.
But then let's go down the Banzuke a little bit and look at some of the people between sort of M6 and M10. And there are a couple of standout sort
this
of
is an interesting bracket. I'll admit, this bracket I know the least people in, apart from Tochinoshin, of course, and Kiribayama. The rest, like Takanosho with a 12-3.
I'll be honest, I don't remember a lot of his fights.
Neither do I.
So maybe that's something we'll have to go back and watch.
And someone to look out for in the next tournament, because he will be promoted quite a lot. Looking at that, he's one of the only people to go positive between M6 and M10.
Yeah, I think he'll see a pretty significant jump.
Yeah, he will end up M3, M4, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, looking at these records, I'd say there's maybe even a possibility he ends up at M2, M1. You got Takayasu, who retired after 5, who may even be relegated from the top division. We've seen them be very harsh on people who've pulled out before. Tokashoryu, who's clearly going down quite far in the rankings.
Yes, that is something we should talk about. Relegation. There's quite a few candidates for it, I would say.
Who would you say is the top candidate here?
It's difficult to say. Diamami, who's came up from the Juryo division, I believe.
So should we talk quickly, about the three wrestlers that came up from Juryo at the start of this one? So we have Diamami, we have Kotona Waka, and who was the last one?
It's Nishikigi, isn't it?
Yes, that's right, yeah.
Who went straight up from Juryo to M14.
M14 and lost his first 5 fights
in a row, yeah.
But managed to pull it back to a somewhat respectable score of 6-9. He'll probably remain.
He's going to stay. He's going to be M17 or so. But
that's my thought as well. Yeah,
I feel like he's going to stay.
Diamami at 5-10 probably is out of here.
M17, he's almost certainly relegated. Kotona Waka, on the other hand, 9-6. He had an excellent start. Fortunately, he had 4 losses in a row at one point. Before that, I believe he was on 7-2.
Something
I was impressed with him, and I believe I read earlier that he is the youngest wrestler currently in this division.
Really?
Yeah.
And he is the son of a very famous sumo wrestler, I believe.
Who had the same name, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. We don't know him, but
he's definitely staying. He's going to go up a few ranks, definitely.
I think he'll take Nishikigi's... I can't say that name at all, but I think he'll take his ranking at M14, possibly. I mean, he'll be going up to M17 standard anyway, since we're getting a second Ozeki, which is something we should talk about in a bit.
We should indeed, yes. There's so much to cover.
There really is, yeah.
Carry on.
I was saying, hopefully this will improve as we're covering it, sort of as it's going on. But having the entire basho to talk about
in one episode, we're obviously flying through it. We're going to be, as we said earlier, possibly even daily updates on this. But I think Tsurugisho is definitely gone.
Yeah,
he withdrew after day 5.
Now, what injured him? Was he the guy that got thrown out of the ring onto his back? Was he the guy that got his little ankle twisted?
I can't remember.
There were a couple of injuries this time around.
There were. Because Takayasu also withdrew on day 5.
That's right.
And he is currently Megashira 1. And the Sumo Association do not take withdrawals well. So even though he's Megashira 1, I wouldn't be surprised if he possibly even got demoted to Juryo.
Unfortunately. I think it's a bit harsh.
For him, he may remain in very lowest ranks of Megashira, but I wouldn't be surprised if he left the top division too. So if there were 3, I had to say, we're going to have to say goodbye to from the top division. The newly promoted Nishikigi.
Yeah. Oh,
possibly.
Yeah, maybe.
Possibly. But actually, more likely it's going to be Diamami, Tsurugisho, and then for me it's between Nishikigi and Takayasu. We'll have to see.
I think Takayasu may just cling on to the bottom.
It is a long way to drop, isn't it?
It is. I think maybe we'll see Meisei drop out. He went 7-8, which isn't bad, but at M17...
He really is on a knife edge. It's like 51-49 whether he will stay or not for me.
But we also have Azumaru 5-10 from Megashira 16. I mean, that's not good. That's not a good look.
We really don't know what's going to happen here.
No.
Far as I know, there is no rule. They could drop 5 people.
Yes.
And 5 go up. It was the last tournament, 3 changed. That's why we're thinking of it in terms of 3 people changing. But
I think
as far as I know.
personally, if there's one thing I'm not sure on to do with sumo, it's sort of how the rankings work at the end of a bash.
I'm not sure anyone's sure, to be honest.
Well, yeah, but I'm really not sure.
You're less sure than most.
Oh yeah. All right. So how was the basho for you as a whole? Did you enjoy it?
I did enjoy it. I'm not sure I enjoyed it as much as the last one.
Yeah, I'm the same with you on that.
Tokushoryu's amazing road to victory
And
in the
his
previous basho was
incredible,
pretty spectacular to watch.
it was amazing. And
But
the
the
way
last,
that he burst into tears on the last day.
yeah, it's nice to see some emotion. Hakuho kind of just, he looked pretty passive after his victory.
He's very smug a lot of the time.
But he has had 43 previous to this. But I will say the last basho did not have the 2 Yokozuna in it for the majority of it. So it was good as a new, as we are both new watchers. It was good to see the Yokozuna go through an entire contest.
Yeah, it was pleasing to see the 2 Yokozuna fight on the final day, right?
And they ended up in first and second place, so that was good to see.
Yeah.
But overall, I think I don't know now. I'm saying this, I'm almost changing my mind on the spot, to be honest. The quality of the fights, I'd say, was possibly slightly higher, but there were a few standout ones in this one which are making me question my decision.
I think the Hatsu Basho, the one that was in January, is possibly, we may be a bit biased towards it being the first one that we've properly watched. Maybe in a few months we'll be able to look back with a bit more clarity.
Hopefully we'll have more rather than less clarity.
So, what's a Henka, Shaun? Why are we called the Henka boys?
Okay, the Henka is a move in sumo when you dodge the initial charge, which is called the tachiai. Is that correct? Yeah. I believe it roughly translates to dodge or sidestep. Okay. And it's a controversial topic in sumo, and that's why we're called the Henka boys, because we dodge difficult subjects and we're also controversial. Wouldn't you say, James?
Very controversial. Yeah, I find myself to be controversial.
Almost all of the time, every time I've spoken to you.
Yeah, something slips out, doesn't it?
Something always slips out, doesn't it?
It always does.
It's an interesting rule about sumo. If the mawashi, which is the thick nappy belt they wear, the nappy, do we really have to
lower ourselves
those levels that they wear, is called a mawashi, and if it comes off during a tournament, which I believe has only happened once, like in the last century or something, the owner of that mawashi that comes off is instantly forfeits the match, unfortunately.
Yeah.
An interesting rule. But anyway, back to describe. We're talking about henkas. Yes, so it's a dodging motion at the start of the bout, when the 2 wrestlers charge at each other. If one steps out of the way, often the momentum of the opposing wrestler will carry him straight out of the ring without even touching his opponent. So it is considered. It's a tricky topic.
Well, it's technically within the rules, right?
It is, yeah.
But it's considered to be sort of dirty or dishonourable.
But anyway, we have decided, as part of this podcast, after each tournament, we are going to have it's going to be called a Henka of the Basho, a Basho Henka.
Yes.
Do we have an official name for it? I don't think we do.
Henka of the Basho is fine for now. If we think of anything more creative, we'll
Henka of the Basho, excellent.
Yeah. So what's your Henka of the Basho, Shaun?
My Henka of the Basho. I don't know if you remember this. Day 6. Tochinoshin versus Ishihara. We're both Tochinoshin fans. We're rooting for the guy.
Was this the day we were both watching live?
I think it was actually. Yeah, we got up very early and watched it live.
7 a.m. Local time.
And personally, I was disgusted with Ishihara's performance.
Should we watch it back?
We are. We both have this ready. Let's go. Let's watch it again.
Right, let's go. Yeah.
React in real time. Oh, it's over so quickly.
It's disgusting.
You will agree with me there.
It's bad. It's bad.
We'll say to those not entirely in the know with the names, maybe Ishihara is also a very light wrestler. I believe he's the second lightest after Enho, who we were discussing earlier.
In the same stable as Enho and Hakuho, interestingly.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah.
So, Henka maybe is taught in that stable.
Well, there's been a few Hakuho Henka incidents, I suppose.
He indeed won one of his playoffs for the tournament title with a Henka a few years ago, didn't he? Yeah. Which received some criticism.
Wrestled some cages. Now, I've got another Henka here.
You do.
That also involves Tochinoshin, but on the other side of the Henka equation.
Yes,
this is Tochinoshin on day 11, performing a Henka against Kageyaki. Should we watch that?
We shall, yes, let's go.
I'm so disappointed in Tochinoshin because, for those who don't know, to be a top division sumo wrestler and be a foreigner that is not from Japan is a pretty rare thing because you can only have one foreigner in each stable.
The Yokozuna?
Yep.
Of course. They are both foreign. They're both Mongolian currently.
They are,
Mongolians do particularly well, but outside of Mongolia, it is very rare for a wrestler to achieve much at all in sumo.
And Tochinoshin is from Georgia, not the state. Is it a state? Yeah.
It is a state. Yeah.
Not the state, technically, the country. Georgia.
The country, yes.
Yeah. Was Georgia in the USSR?
I believe it was, yeah.
Yeah. So ex-Soviet country. But he used to be a Roseki, Tochinoshin. Mm-hmm. It was a very dramatic sort of rise and fall and subsequent rise up to Ozeki, where I believe he got an injury around that time with his knee.
He has had a very long career. It's I believe 2008, I think, is when he's been. So this is his 12th year in the top division.
Yeah, but he is now in what I would describe as a slow fall from grace. Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the year he is no longer in the top division.
Yeah. But he has one of my favourite styles, which is he just grabs them by the mawashi, picks the guys up, and power lifts them out of the ring. And to see him perform such a disgraceful manoeuvre on the dojo really upset me. It's disgusting.
Do you not feel it is in retaliation to it having happened to him earlier in the tournament?
Two wrongs don't make a right, Shaun.
Yeah. I would also argue in his corner that he is quite heavy. He's on the heavy end of the wrestling spectrum. Is it not more impressive for him to perform a Henka than one of the lighter Rikishi, such as Ishihara? Or do you tar all Henkas with the same brush?
I don't. Some Henkas I enjoy, but only because they're kind of spectacularly
Athletic,
funny.
acrobatic, funny. Yeah, funny.
I enjoy it when the guy runs out off the edge,
Yeah.
Or does that comical sort of turn around sort of maneuver after they realise all their momentum's going in the wrong direction.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just expected more from Tochinotion.
You think it's a desperate move, do you, for someone
I think
in his position?
if he wants to aim to get back up to the Sanyaku ranks, he needs to not be doing things that appear that desperate to the audience. He needs to prove that he's capable and willing to get back up there using his own strength.
Okay, so James, I think that wraps it up for the sumo talk for this podcast. As we have said a couple of times previously, this may have felt very rushed, and we apologise for that. But when the next basho comes around, we will be doing much more frequent updates. So we will go into it in more depth on a day-to-day basis, probably.
Yeah.
But another feature of this podcast, because although this episode, as an introductory one, has been very heavily about sumo,
and quite long, I think, as well, right?
Yeah, maybe we'll probably usually be shorter than this. We just had a lot to cover because we wanted to talk about the entire basho, and we've covered so little. I'm sorry, but we plan to have an incredible fact of the day to end our podcasts with, because these podcasts will talk about other subjects, like James said at the start, anything that comes to mind or we've been thinking about in the previous week. So James, what have you been thinking about recently?
So I have an incredible repository of facts. It's called Wikipedia.
Oh, okay.
Now, I've typed something I've been thinking about into Wikipedia to find something interesting. Now, what have I been thinking about, Shaun? Armadillos.
Armadillos. Okay.
Armadillos. You know them. You love them.
Yeah.
Presumably.
Who doesn't?
Who hates an armadillo? Nobody. So, did you know that an armadillo can jump 3 to 4 feet vertically when startled? Just a standing jump.
A standing jump, that is.
Now, they're not very big creatures, armadillos. They're fairly small, I think.
They're
3 to 4
very in
feet.
size. There's a giant armadillo, I believe. But that is pretty big because they have very short legs. That's sort of like a dachshund with a shell. I think of an armadillo as.
Okay. I was thinking more of a rat or something, like a rat snail hybrid.
They're like those very short-legged dogs struggle with stairs, so I can't imagine them doing a standing jump.
Yeah, but unfortunately, this isn't really a positive thing for an armadillo.
Is it not?
Because if they get startled by a car, for instance, it turns out that jumping vertically 3 to 4 feet isn't a very good defense.
No.
They just hit the windscreen and die.
That is unfortunate.
Yeah. However, on a lighter note, maybe, when you killed an armadillo by smashing into it because it's jumped into your windscreen, you can take the shell of the armadillo and craft yourself a charango.
A charango?
A charango. A small stringed instrument of the lute family, traditionally made with armadillo shells.
Indeed.
Thoughts?
Wow.
Would you play a charango? Would you have a charango band at your wedding?
After this conversation, I would definitely consider it. That is certainly thought-provoking. I'm not going to look at an armadillo in quite the same way anymore, I don't think. They're like a sort of kangaroo guitar hybrid, is what I'm hearing from your description, at least.
That's right, yeah. That's essentially what an armadillo is.
Yes. We have redefined the armadillo, listeners.
Yeah, well, that was the incredible fact of the day.
It was, yeah.
It's sort of a 2-for-1 there. You won't don't be expecting that. That's
No,
not going to happen every week.
trust us, they won't always be that exciting.
They won't always be about armadillos either. I suspect only probably 50% of them will be
Only 50%
of all the
you
incredible
heard it
facts.
here. Yeah.
Although I am very fickle, I'll probably change my mind on that.
Yeah. Next week it'll be 20% and then 0. So
Yeah.
what can you do? Co-host.
Right. Well, have you got anything else to add?
I would like to thank you all for tuning in and listening to our new podcast. It's been an exciting new challenge for us, and we hope you're going to continue with us along our journey. And what we would really like is if you could reach out to us on Twitter or Facebook, drop us a message, let us know what you think, give us some suggestions for future episodes, and possibly even ask us for a shout out, or if you want to be a guest on the show, please let us know. Thanks again for listening. It's goodbye from Shaun.
It's goodbye from James.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.